Come, spellweavers, reavers, rogues, and men-at-arms, and answer the call of adventure. Pick up your sword, your axe, your spellbook, your bow, your rulebook, and your dice, and join the forces of good in their eternal fight against vile monsters, conspiring min-maxers, horny bards, and blood-soaked murder hobos. Discover the treasure trove of role-playing games here on Rollin Bones. My name is Ryan Howard, and I shall be your guide. Good evening, Boneheads, and welcome back to Rollin Bones with Ryan Howard, where we are making old school young again. I'm your host and king of the Boneheads, Ryan Howard, and this is going to be a weird one tonight. A fun one, hopefully an insightful one, but this is one of those weird little conversations that popped off on Twitter over a month ago, and it's still with us. So, to kind of go over the long and short of this little Braunstein kerfluffle that we've had on RPG Twitter, I have the one and only Dundermoose returning this evening. So I'm going to bring him on here in just a second. We're going to get right into this. Before we do, I want to remind everyone to like, share, and subscribe. That is best way to let people know what we've got going on over here. It's a great way just to give us some ground level support there. Also want to remind everyone you can find me on various social media platforms, including X and Instagram, where I am at Howard_Ryan Gregg. YouTube is Rollin Bones. Twitch is twitch.tv/RollinBonesRyan. And Substack is rollinbones.substack.com. I've got an article that is coming out tomorrow, maybe Thursday. I am once again diving into GNS theory. And this time I am trying to bring up some points about essentially the complexity of the simulation that you are trying to perform, having a direct impact on the complexity of the rules that you need to perform that simulation. So that's what I'll be talking about. I hope that I made some good points, and I hope that you guys enjoy reading stuff like that. But that's enough of my nonsense. Let's go ahead and bring on the man that you all are here to see. You can find him on X at Dundermoose. He has the Dundermoose YouTube channel. He is the one and only dressed immaculately for this evening's conversation, Dundermoose. Welcome back to Rollin Bones.
What it is, baby. Good to be here.
Oh, we talking like the American dream tonight? That's the road, daddy.
Hey, you got your scotch? I got my specialty tie. If anybody can recognize what's on this tie, then I just learned something about you. A white elephant gift, baby.
Nice. Yeah, as Rex Teal says in chat here, dat drip.
Dat drip.
Dat drip. All right. So, there's a lot of nonsense to cover tonight. So
Yes,
I guess let's just dive in at the beginning. There is a clear starting point to all of this. And as usual, when it comes to shenanigans on RPG Twitter, it, of course, begins with someone inviting Jeffro to be on their platform. So let me zoom in so that you guys can see this on screen here. This was from August 30th. Diversity and Dragons, Double D, fan of the show, good friend, great guy. He put up a poll on Twitter that said, should I have Jeffro Johnson on the lair for a sit down? 76% of his audience that voted said yes.
Who gave him that idea?
I wonder who gave him that idea.
Somebody might have gone on Diversity and Dragons, and when that topic came up, she's like, well, why don't you have him on and interview him yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you do it your dang self? You're so smart.
Yeah.
And the guy didn't. I thought it was a pretty amazing episode, personally. Like, I really got a lot out of it. It was cool.
Yeah, and that's what happens. Every time someone new invites Jeffro on the show, there is an insightful first-time conversation. Mm-hmm. And then someone online, or usually multiple someones, just absolutely flips their shit.
Yeah, and the people that were like the first to invite him on and have never stopped benefiting from the most views on that episode, either on YouTube or when they reposted it on Rumble, And yet they still brigade anyone else that wants to have the man on just to share his thoughts.
Yep.
But we're not here to talk about that.
Yeah.
That was
You're probably here tonight. If you guys are watching, hi, welcome. Glad you're here. No, I'm not, but hi.
Yeah. So this was just the rock that was tossed into the pool.
Yep.
And the ripples are what we're here to discuss tonight. Harmony says everything is my fault.
Yeah. So, and those of you who missed it, the Ginger Report returns tonight because I am pulling from Harmony Ginger's Twitter heavily here. She has documented a lot of this stuff, and it was one of the easiest places for me to find it. So, Harmony, yes, tonight's entire episode is in many ways about you. So,
dang it, Harmony. This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, this is exactly why we can't have nice things.
One girl shows up and all of us bucks just start fighting.
Yep. And so to continue reading here, Double D says, when I had Ginger Blast on recently, she suggested that Jeffro and I talk. The more I thought about it, the more I think it's a good idea. My new philosophy, I will entertain people because, well, I am an entertainer.
And he is
not ashamed of that.
And he had an earlier episode making fun of Jeffro, and they did a sketch called Bishop Buffro, and it was literally one of the most, like, you will be scraping gum off your monitor if you watch that at your computer because it's hilarious.
He's a funny guy. I like Double D a lot. And he said, I will talk to people across the board. I understand that some may not like him being on. I can only say that this episode may not be for everyone, but it should be a lively one. And so, Patty always has, good stuff to say. Harmony brings it up. And this is, I'm going to scroll past some of these. Some of you guys are seeing names on here. So this is the one that I wanted to bring up. That's right here. This Dave Kahn character, because this is where things start to get interesting. This rando pops in here and says, "As a person." Sorry, what was that?
Oh, I just thought it was funny you called him a rando.
Yeah, well, he is. Like,
you don't know who this guy is?
Well, no, I know who he is, but like, you look. I've got his stats pulled up here. Okay, I am not like the most influential voice in this hobby. Okay, I know that I have a niche audience, but what I am seeing here is 169 followers, which I think my mom has more than that on this platform. So, like,
hashtag follow Ryan's mom on twitter.com.
I don't even know if her handle is active anymore. But yeah, so Dave Kahn, who, for anyone who doesn't know, he runs a convention that's kind of built around.
Well, you got to make sure not to switch them. There's two Dave Kahns.
Yes.
Right. So that's why he's Dave Kahn _MN. He's the Minnesota Dave Kahn.
Yeah.
So don't get them twisted.
Yep. And you should also not confuse Dave Kahn for Arnicon.
That's right. Well, Arnicon is about one Dave. Dave Kahn is about multiple Daves.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I will say he doesn't seem like a rando to me. Like, dude, legit actually games with Wesley. Like, he's not just talking to him. He's not just emailing him saying, don't listen to any of these people. Don't take any of these calls. Like, he posts photos of, like, here's me and Dave Wesley sitting down playing a war game. So to that regard, they are buds. They know each other. They like each other. They game together. So throw that out there.
Yeah. And that's context that I think is essential because to me, he's just some dude who spat it off and got immediately like rolled. So
it was a bit of a ratio.
But in his own words here, from his own chicken lips, as a personal friend of David Wesley, I would hope you would shut down these IP stealing twerps. I doubt Mr. Wesley hears much about this except from at Blackmore Film, Griff, who will enter here in a second, and myself. By giving them a forum, I feel you're legitimizing their theft of a great man's work. And not to toot my own horn here, but there was a response from Harmony and then this is kind of where I jumped in. So I'm gonna switch over here to a tweet that Harmony made. It says, "Hi, I'm a huge fan of Wesley's work. I would love to ask him these questions. Is there a way you could help me get in contact with him so that I may attempt to obtain his permission? I am not profiting off of his work, but I think I am one of the people who is being accused." So basically, as people were calling out this silly goose for his silly goose opinions, Harmony came in and, to her credit, attempted to make peace and say, "Hey, we just want to talk to Dave."
Yes.
The response that we got.
Can you send us a picture of Dave holding today's newspaper?
Yes.
We want proof of life.
Yep. And so the response here, "I'll talk to Dave Wesley and see if he will give his permission. Otherwise, I suggest davecon.net or Arnicon to meet him and ask his permission in person." So basically, no, I am not going to facilitate you actually talking to this man that I don't know, am holding hostage. Maybe I shouldn't make that accusation. I don't know. I don't care.
Holding him hostage. All right. So I've got some. Oh, Harmony says, "Show more there. It gets worse."
Mm-hmm.
So click on it.
Yeah. So we'll go up here to. Well, that was my reply. Let's see.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, Twitter's hard with the. Yep. I'm still not great at Twitter either. Twitter and YouTube, I'm not good at, which is weird because that's where I spend a lot of my time.
Because what I said to this was, funnily enough, your rectal ventriloquism act and complete ignorance of how intellectual property works don't exactly make for a compelling sales pitch for your convention. And
rectal ventriloquism, yes. Dude. All right.
And this is where Griff kind of turned on me, because for a while it was like you and me that he was still following.
Yeah.
And
have you been blocked for the rectal ventriloquism?
Yes, I've been blocked. Well, I also made a post where so back when I had Harmony on, we were talking about Biff, and for anyone who didn't realize, who didn't pick up on that the subtle hint there, Biff was Griff. And I had chambered up, and this was sitting in my Twitter drafts for like 6 months. I had chambered up a GIF of old man Biff Tannen saying "buttheads," and the text that went over it was when everyone ignores your secret documents that totally exist and just plays the game anyway. And I tweeted that out, and I think that's what got me blocked.
Okay. So I have felt the sting of a Griff block. And the first time it happens to you, it really hurts, because I'm a big fan of the man's work. I love Secrets of Blackmore. I have Tannisborg, and he actually sent me an advance copy of Blackmore Foundations to review on my channel. And that's why I think he even came on my show at all, is because he really appreciated the review I did of that book, because I really enjoyed it. So I don't know. That might be your way back in. If you're like, "Hey man, your next thing coming out, I want to boost it to my audience." And I mean, at the end of the day, how much of this is even really real? You know?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And that's really what kind of like rests at the heart of this drama. There are
does it always get back to kayfabe, baby?
And to kind of like, let me back up about 5 years here.
All right.
2019, a fresh-faced Rollin Bones Ryan, who had not yet turned to video on his platform, reached out to one Mr. Griff and said, "Hey, I've heard a lot about this Secrets of Blackmore film. I watched it. I thought it was really cool. I'd like to interview you." And he said, okay, where is your show? And so I sent him a link to the podcast on Spotify or something like that. And he goes, do you have a YouTube channel? And I said, no. And he said, I don't know how to work this thing. I don't want to be on your show. And that was my first interaction with Griff.
I think the same thing happened to McCrease with Pundit last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes people, I mean, there's a certain word for people of that age. I would never use that word. Pundit did about 11 days ago. He did a video talking about all of this exact same thing that we're talking about. He referred to everybody involved as a boomer. He even mimicked being Wesley and saying, "Oh yeah, Braunstein, that thing sucked." And I'm like, I don't know whose side Pundit's on. Like that, you should watch. It's a hilarious video. The man is funny.
I do know what side Pundit's on. Pundit's on Pundit's side, but.
But like even in like trying to defend Griff and the point of view, he still can't help but roast all of them involved, call them boomers, make a joke that Wesley thinks Braunstein sucks. Like, sorry, Braunstein. Braunstein is how you say it.
But,
so when you level that, when the thing that got leveled was, you guys have stolen a term that. Well, Dave Kahn's point was, hey, this guy's my friend.
Yeah.
And this is his. Ever since 2005 or something, he's been running these at cons. So it was 50 years ago, but he did bring it back and he's been running it at cons. And if you want to play the Braunstein, you can go to ArnieCon, you can go to Dave Kahn. There's several places where he will run it. He'll do Braunstein and he'll do Banania, right? Yeah. Which is a what is Banania? What do we call Banania? Is it a Banania or is it a Braunstein? I've heard Banania called a Braunstein, but then it's like, okay, well, so there's a linguistic question here, but the other, and I cannot find it, but
the way that it was presented, the way it was presented in the film was that it was basically like. It wasn't the direct sequel, but it was like the third installment because the direct sequel was Brownstone. But
well, and Wesley didn't run Brownstone, right? And Brownstone had continuity. It wasn't just a one night thing where you play it out like a board game and then all the pieces go back in the box. And the next time they played Brownstone, it wasn't reset.
Yeah.
So. I wish I'd put my bookmarks in. I've got the book right here. And this was something I called out on my review of it. But there's a section in here where they talk about how, well, I mean, remember, RPG is not a thing yet.
Yeah.
And so Braunstein is it's the first thing that's like this. And so there is a period of time where they refer to everything as a Braunstein.
Yeah.
So they called Brownstone a Western Braunstein. They called Banania, like a tropic Braunstein.
Yeah.
Braunstein. So I cannot stop saying Braunstein.
That's
the differentiator. Maybe if you say Braunstein, you're talking about the authentic Braunstein. And if you say Braunstein, you mean a variant that is crazy fun that a lot of people have been running and using online.
Yeah.
To up their games.
But
so I can't find. I'm not going to flip through the whole book. Yeah. It's in here, and there's even a mimeograph of the first invitation to play Blackmore, where it is referred to as. Well, here that is on page 34. I don't know if my light. It says, and you guys have probably seen this. There will be a medieval Braunstein. In quotes. There will be a medieval Braunstein, April 17th, 1970, at the home of David Arneson from 1,300 hours to 2,400 hours, with refreshments being available on the usual basis. Players may come at any time, and any number are welcome to attend what should prove to be an exciting time. It will feature mythical creatures and a poker game under the Trolls Bridge between sunup and sundown. So. in the bros' defense, we do seem to have a precedence of people referring to games other than the original session as a Braunstein.
Yeah.
Not the Braunstein. The Braunstein is Braunstein, but using in the same sense as like Kleenex or Band-Aids or whatever, right?
Yeah. And this is what tends to happen with brands. Those of you who are in the video game world, you probably already know that back when first-person shooters started to come out, they weren't called first-person shooters. They were called Doom clones because the first one that popped off successfully was Doom. So you have all these games that are referred to as Doom clones. They're not Doom. They're not the original Doom, but they have elements that are reminiscent of Doom. So Doom clones. Then a term pops up to, kind of refer to these games under a blanket. These are first-person shooters. And then kind of, Doom gets to, live life as its own IP, and it doesn't go the way of Xerox or Kleenex or, stuff like that. Or even, in the South here, Coke. Every soda is a Coke.
So there's a linguistic thing that happens. Pardon me here. Maybe I went a little too deep on the V with the buttons.
We're getting to some members only content here.
Yeah. So let's not straw man the other argument though.
Yep.
Like let me ask you to put your curtains on, put your goatee and be Griff for a minute.
Okay.
Or be Dave. I don't know what Dave Kahn looks like. I know his first
either.
name is Vic. I know nothing else about the man other than he runs a convention. What is your argument for what you see happening, and why do you feel that way?
So if I were to take a look at this from Dave's perspective, or not Dave, David Wesley has no idea this is going on.
He might. Well, he's probably getting it from them what's going on, because they are legit his friends. Like that's not made up or fake. Like they have access to the man.
Yeah,
he answers their calls.
From Griff's perspective, 5 years ago he made this movie. It was a hit among the crowd. He's been talking about doing more with this concept. It seems like he's been trying to work with David Wesley to turn this into something. And then all of a sudden, right around 2020, 2021, this group of upstarts that he doesn't know, they're all anonymous. They all, are hiding behind these funky handles that don't make any sense to him. Like he doesn't know what a B-dubs is. He doesn't know. He's never heard of anyone named Jeffro or anything like that. And he just sees these guys talking about this play style. And they're talking about his film. They're giving him credit, but they're being a little rowdy. They're being rambunctious, and they're being a little bit obnoxious. And so I think a part of him went, I don't want my work associated with, this group of obnoxious rabble rousers. And so I'm going to go make efforts to distance myself from these people. And unfortunately, the way that he did it, well, one, he didn't understand what was going on. He didn't seem to try to communicate with any of them.
Well, he blocks everybody on site. If you put hashtag BroSR on Twitter, he's like, oh, cool. You're gone.
Yeah, he basically develops an automatic zero tolerance policy for this instead of, trying to break bread with them or find out what's going on here, and immediately starts no true Scotsmaning people. That's not a real Braunstein.
Yeah.
And I understand because I've had instances where, me associating myself with the bros, people have been asking me questions about, hey, why do you hang out with these guys? Or why do you talk to these guys? I'm not like, why do you associate with them? And I'm like, because they have interesting ideas. It's, this is a game. This is an act. They're they're doing interesting things, and it's not just talking about them. There's praxis involved there. Instead of trying to get below the surface, he just has a chimp out. And I think that's the problem, is he fundamentally does not understand the game that is being played here.
Who would you say is the most irritating person in the hobby? Like, who has just rubbed you the wrong way so hard that you can't even stand it?
Oh, the most irritating person in the hobby. I think there's a certain person that you want. Do you want me to answer from my perspective, or do you want me to answer from Griff's perspective?
Oh, from yours. Sorry, I'd
Oh,
moved on from the Steelman thing. I mean,
okay.
I'm still trying to make the case, but I'm trying to assume. Well, I guess I can't really say I'm trying to assume positive intent, but I'm trying to figure out from a point of view that is not my own
Mm.
how to get to where they are.
So
Assuming that it's not just because they're evil or stupid.
the
So
most
like,
irritating person in the hobby, from my perspective, it's a three-way tie because they're irritating in three different ways. Um, RPG Pundit, Ryan David, and Kablooey the Pirate.
I don't know Kablooey.
Taryn, whatever his name is, the guy who got mad at Double D for making fun of Jenny D.
Okay, I'm actually blissfully unaware of that one, but let's
Okay.
just say it's Pundit.
Yeah.
And he's done some things that have violated your trust in the past and have just you have no desire to support him or anything that he does.
Mm.
And then let's say he comes up, like he makes a discovery or a rediscovery, and all of the hooting goblins in his orbit start having a blast. How do you get yourself mentally to a place where you can set aside your physical revulsion for the human? I'm sorry, I'm laying it on thick. How do you get to a point where you can look past what he's done or said that has caused you to have a low opinion of his behavior and say, you know what, all things considered, he's right about this, and if I tried this, it would help my game?
So I'm going to set aside Pundit and Ryan David because there are other things that have happened outside of being irritating online
Okay,
that verge on like crime territory. So I'm going to set those aside.
fair enough.
So, okay. Kablooey the Pirate, Indestructible is what he goes by online.
Okay, I think I've seen his YouTubes, right?
Yeah. He's the guy that gave a scathing review to Candela Obscura and then apologized because Matt Mercer's fans are psychopaths.
Not so Indestructa, huh?
Yeah.
Anywho, all right. I'm not trying to stir up crap. I'm just trying to put you in a mindset to say, I don't know what happened to Griff at all. I know that he's had some interaction with the bros in the past, and I don't know if like one of us pooped on his birthday cake or what. I do know that he's friends with Pundit. And I don't know how far, like, I think Pundit stuff goes back to like Jeffro releasing Appendix N, like way before the Broasar. So, you know, I'm not sure how far that's way before my time. All I know is, let's say you're tight with somebody that just absolutely can't stand another one. And your friend is like, well, if you want to be friends with me, then you gotta, throw this guy under the bus because he's just a jerk and he's a what does Pundit say? He's a cult leader that creates reality for all of the bros. Right? He dictates our reality and we just lap it up and say, yes, Jeffro, what's next? I can't wait for you to invent something that already exists and that everybody's been playing for 50 years but somehow never talked about. So all that to say, I don't know what happened, but I know that if somebody were to come and tell me, hey man, you got to buy Pundit's latest book, it's phenomenal, I'd be like, I'm good. And that's not because I have a well thought out, well reasoned argument against what Pundit has done. I am just letting my human basic emotions kind of override any curiosity I have in the game.
Yeah.
And just realizing that about myself, that I have that emotional roadblock, maybe I can extend grace to someone else that may be going through that, whether it's fair or not, whether it's earned or not. And I do think that it is causing the people that suffer from Broissard derangement syndrome, I think they are missing some of the hottest stuff that's going on in gaming right now. I think they are missing the things that could transform your table and make it engaging in a way that it hasn't been for 50 years.
Yeah.
But I am part of the cult, so you'll have to take that with a grain of salt.
Well, and as someone who is on the periphery of the cult, I can speak to that a little bit, because what I see in the gaming landscape right now is from the like 5e side of things, you have the Barbie dress up side of the hobby. The people the tourists, the people who came in with Critical Role, they just want to make their characters and get their anime bean mouth art done, and then play 5 sessions and don't kill their sweet baby cinnamon roll, whatever it is they say. So like, no, like those people, there's nothing there. That's all on the way out. They will be gone within like 3 years, whenever
I'm sorry, dude,
WotC
the chat is being so ridiculous right now. We're talking serious crap, and you guys are like, dude, son, you got BDS.
Create my reality harder, Jeff.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm so distractible.
No, it's all good.
Everybody gives me credit. They all think I know what I'm talking about. I'm an idiot with a magnetic personality. That's all I have going for me.
Isn't that what all of us do?
I'm sorry. Our Harmony anime bean mouth artist series guys. Joe.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. I totally derailed. You were about to land a point, and I did the same thing to you. I'm doing the B-dubs whenever he comes on my show. I'm just stepping on the moment. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So yeah, like you have those people, and then you've got the old school. And at like first blush, you've got that Matt Fitch interview where he says every time there's a new edition of D&D released, the old school movement grows. What that means is every time there's a new edition of D&D, someone buys an old school book, they read it, they go, this is nonsense. And then like that little bump in sales they had, that constitutes their growth. Okay. Because all the old school is doing is reliving their 12-year-old memories of 40 years ago when they still had life in their eyes, and like
when the bloom of youth was still upon their cheek.
Yeah. It's every
You're
like
chasing the long tail.
Yes. Old school games are essentially like 4-hour sessions of the first verse of Glory Days by Bruce Springsteen.
Right on.
And so like those are like your two kind of main pillars of the hobby. And then you've got all the niches. You've got your vampire people who, there's a lot of crossover with the 5e people. They're weirdos. There's even a little bit of the like, remember the glory days. I still look hot in these fishnets, even though I'm 55. Stuff going on in that circle.
Yeah.
Like, but then you have the bros and the people like Basic Expert and Victor Gorchev. And kind of the people who are, all interacting with this bro movement and the movements all around it. This is where like the real praxis of what the future of gaming is going on. These are people who are looking at the original rules in depth. They are reading them, they are comprehending them, comparing them to their influences.
Yeah.
They are running them at tables, and then they are recording their results in a borderline scientific way on these blogs. They're just laying out, look, this is what we tried. This is how it went. Here are my conclusions. Yeah.
Bro blogs receipts.
Yeah. Yes. Here are the receipts. And so like the bros are doing this, Basic Experts doing this. There's lots of people within the sphere who are, taking this thing seriously.
Yeah.
Years from now, and I mean like 10 years from now, this is the thing that people are going to look back on and be like, okay, these guys were on to something. It needed refinement. It was raw. It was rough. There was a lot of rowdiness going on, but this was where kind of this mindset began. And where I kind of see myself in this is I want to be one of those people that takes it to another level and takes it to a point where people can palate it without having to be like, well, that guy's toxic all the time. But
well, and that it's the weirdest thing. A lot of the guys that are like in the Bro SR now were the ones that were just rocking them with hooks and uppercuts and the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a very strange dynamic. I remember when Crafty Matt was against the Bros.
Yeah.
And now he is like a champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's very interesting to watch. And so in one sense, it's, I mean, no offense, Harmony, but it's a very masculine thing. Yeah. It's almost like a Steven Seagal movie, right? Where like you get the two guys just beat on each other until one of them realizes he's in the wrong, and then they hug and make up at the end. Mm-hmm. And like that's how they had to get there, was the fighting it out. But what you get is you got a bunch of dudes who are enthusiastic about this hobby, who are sharing what they're doing, and just facing wave after wave of ankle biting, criticizing anger, like actual legit anger. And it has like hardened and crystallized them into a diamond where they will be fierce with each other behind closed doors. They will challenge each other. We will disagree. It will blow up. And it's just like that. The thing that you keep hearing talked about is like the iron sharpening iron. It's like when you get really challenged on something that you are talking, you either flame out and you go feminine and you say, well, I can't believe we're even talking about this when Wesley's feelings could get hurt. What does Wesley think about all this? Do you guys know that you're hurting him? He's a poor old man. And it's best that we keep him away from all of this, because this might just do him in. Right? Yeah. That is a capitulation. That is a running away.
You were literally killing this old man.
Yeah, and like I've compared it to like those kung fu movies, right? Where like you go to join the Bro SR and they just yell at you, and you sit outside the wall, and then like the guys that leave just leave, and then after 24 hours of just sitting out there, they finally open the door and they say, "Come in, and we will teach you the ways." Right? So it's like the ones that gut it out make it in. I did not come in with an identity as someone who knows so much. I will tell you to this day that I'm a moron, I'm an idiot, I'm playing catch up. I came in saying, okay, you guys say your way is better. Prove it. Show me. And they said, all right, step on in. I have had no problems with the Bros. You can pick the meanest bro you want to, and I get along with them great, because I came in humble, correctable, teachable. I still maintain there may be a time when I disagree with them and I'll walk away, or we'll part amicably, or we'll just hold on to the one thing we disagree about. So it's not like I'm surrendering my autonomy in some, personality-based cult.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that there won't ever come a time where they check me up and we get into it. But like, there's just a respect there, and there's just like a passion about the hobby. Yeah. And we don't use emotional tricks to try and vitiate each other's case on using shame or you should feel bad. It is a very, it's like just rams button horns, and you are forced to look at yourself and say, did I get out over my skis? Did I say something I didn't know to be true? And am I now willing to defend that, or am I willing to let someone have that point and go back in? And that when you do that enough, the things that you speak of, you will come out as one who either is arrogant or has authority, depending on how the person listening to you perceives it.
Yeah.
And if they do not get to a point where they're like, you say you've got something better, show me. The only other option is pride, where you say, I've been playing for 40 years. You're going to teach me something about the old school that we left behind long? I don't think so. This is who I am, kid. Man, I live this stuff. I breathe this stuff. And you're going to try and teach me something? Yeah, that person's not going to make it in.
No.
The door is open, but the archway is low. sorry, man. You got me going.
No, and like you raised an interesting point, and this was something I was going to bring up way back when you mentioned the whole like one of your friends says it's me or him. Um,
Yeah.
this is masculine framing versus feminine framing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll use the example of Crossface. I've talked about this ad nauseum on the show. When Crossface and I first interacted with each other, we were arguing.
Yeah.
And Crossface was right, and I was wrong. And I
Isn't that
basically had to take that one on the chin.
Yeah.
And now we're cool. We're friends.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing is when you take it on the chin, do they gloat? Do they swagger? Or is it like, hey, cool, thanks for realizing that, man?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, I don't know what happened to you. Maybe he wiped his feet on your face. I got no idea what happened. You tell me the story.
Well, no, like when I told him, like, hey, you were right about that. He was like, thanks for admitting that. That's what it was. He was like, there was this element of like, yeah, I know I was right, but thank you for admitting that, and I'm glad that you saw things my way.
Victor.
Welcome, Victor Gorchev. I don't know how
Dundermoose looks 35 and 65.
Yep, it's the same trick that you pull, Vic, if I'm being honest.
It's the gray, man. I should get just for men, and then I'll be like all like unnaturally the same shade of brown throughout every follicle.
Yeah. But this is it's the Dragon Ball model of we're going to fight, we're going to beat each other nearly to a pulp, and then I'm going to pick you up off the ground and you're going to help me with the next fight. That's kind of the mentality that I've encountered with the bros. Yeah. And that's not at all the mentality that's been in this hobby. Every time this stuff happens, and to bring it back to the earlier point, if I had a friend go, you've got to choose between me and this other friend.
Yeah.
Like if it's a guy friend who's approaching me with that, and as a married man, I only have guy friends now.
Yeah, right on.
As a guy friend, if a guy friend says that, he's not asking me stupid questions like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't like that because I'm like, I may not know him the same way you do. Yeah. And I can be friends with you, and you, for example, let's say I'm friends with Pundit. Mm-hmm. I can be friends with you and Pundit without telling you got to be friends with Pundit.
Right.
And without accepting your discomfort with him and saying, well, I'm going to put that on myself and I'm going to treat him that way so that I'm not being two-faced. I'm just like, well, you don't have to be anybody other than who you are, and we can be friends. And same with my other friend. And if either of you have a problem with that, then that's your problem. And it kind of like you're saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's it's this high school lunchroom, whose friend are you type stuff that you would see on like an episode of Arthur. That's like,
you can't love cats because I'm the one that loves cats the most.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. Again, we're getting down far into the bro side. Let me try and reframe again.
Okay.
Because I want to be fair to both sides. At the end of the day, I want to have fun, and I want to have fun with interesting people who are into the same stuff that lights me up. And I happen to see that in people on both sides of this argument. I have continued to communicate with Griff after he came on my show, and I have really enjoyed it.
Yep.
I'm not going to try and convince him he's wrong. I'm going to let him have his say. I'm going to let him do his thing. He came on my show and made fun of the bros, and I laughed my head off. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, part of it, it's just funny when your friends are mad at each other and have a fight. Like, that's hilarious sometimes, too. B-Dubs came on my show, made fun of those guys. I laughed my head off. I felt bad in both cases because I'm like, oh, man, if someone sees this, they're going to be like, oh, man, he's laughing at me. I can't control that. These guys are funny. And Griff tells me that he's laughing about this. So I wonder how many of the pearl clutching is just people on the outside that don't understand how this stuff is really going down. Yeah. But all that to say, let's set that aside. What I'm trying to say is, have you ever had a friend who's a celebrity? or known
Not like
people
a
that were friends with, like personal friends with celebrity.
yes.
There is a certain kind of unspoken protectiveness you get for them because you know that everybody wants their time, everybody wants a piece of them,
Yep.
the autograph, something, and you recognize that that can be exhausting. And you pride yourself on being someone that they could just talk to, that gives to them, that's not always asking or taking and stuff. And so
Yep.
I don't know that Wesley counts as a celebrity outside these circles. I don't know if he's getting recognized at the airport, right?
Probably
But
not.
for us, he's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Now, I would say he has become a much bigger deal because of Griff's movie. I mean, he was already a big deal, but nobody in our generation knew about it because everyone looks at Gary.
Yeah.
Some people look at Dave Arneson. The people that have been there from the beginning, they know it, they get it. So like part of it, I'm like, okay, maybe they see these guys that already you don't like, right? They pooped on your birthday cake, and you're like, oh, these guys are so annoying, and they make me mad. And then they start using the word, and you've got a personal celebrity friend that started that game. And in your mind, you don't respect them. And you think, how can they respect me or my friend? They're not respecting him. They were trying to steal something that he made and apply it to themselves so everybody thinks that they're the cool ones. But my friend is the cool one, and I'm going to protect him. Right? I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt there, and I'm trying to see it the way that they might see it. And I'm trying to, that's what I do in my show too. I get my guests on, I let them have their whole say. I don't argue with them, I don't contradict them. And I figure either one, we're talking past each other and people aren't understanding. So I'll give them a spot to like put it all out there, and then they can do with it what they want. And if they use it to double down and confirm everyone's worst suspicions, well, that's what they chose to do at the time, right? I don't know if that's happening so much, or if maybe because we're all humans and we got brains, and our human brains like to confirmation bias. The things that we already agree with, it will tell us, yes, this supports your theory. And cognitive dissonance, the things that disagree with how we see things, our mind will just automatically, without even our permission, minimize, push it aside, don't look at it. So we even when I give people the chance to say it all, we still might be talking past each other just because we're humans and that stuff happens. So
and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I want to switch to this, and then we'll get back to that long post that Harmony made. Because I see where you're coming from on this, and I see where Griff would be coming from on this. However, there's another corollary to this. So if you are friends with a celebrity, or friends with someone who's tangential to a celebrity or something like that, you have to recognize that, yes, while there is a sense of, protection that you feel towards that person, you're not their agent. You are not their handler, unless you are. Like, if you do know someone's agent and like they're actually being paid for that, okay, that's one thing. But if you're just someone that they game with, or have a beer with every now and then, you're not their agent. You're not the gatekeeper. You don't control access there.
Leave Britney alone.
Yeah.
Right.
And
is that too old of a meme? Do you guys remember that one?
Oh no, I remember. Okay. That one's in my head forever. That's
I get what you're saying.
But this is how Griff approached that, like you said, very real, very human feeling. This is what Griff said in a YouTube comment on, was this your interview with him, or was this your interview with B-Dubs?
I think this is my interview with Griff.
Okay.
That thing, I was looking for this. That thing's got 71 comments on it. It is hard to search.
So Griff puts this thing out like he's, the friggin' press agent for David Wesley LLC or something like that. And so I'm going to read this in its entirety. Blackmore is the only campaign to have utilized all 4 RPG formats in one game, as far as I know. I just got off the phone with David Wesley. If you won't listen to me, then maybe you will listen to what he has to say. I would love to. That's the point here, Griff. But, let's leave that aside. David is really adamant about protecting his game name rights. He proceeded to tell me the story about the man who invented the Colt repeater. As the story goes, Colt sent letters to all of his competitors and said, I am too poor right now to sue you for any infringements on my patents, but as soon as I can afford it, I will be coming for you. 15 years later, Colt had enough profits from the design that he proceeded to sue all his competition out of business. I have questions about this from a historical perspective because I thought the first repeating rifle was designed by Henry, not Colt, but we'll leave that aside.
I have no idea. I have to take both of your words for it.
So leave that aside. On the flip side of that is how David is very amicable to anyone wanting to license Braunstein for a nominal sum in order to create a Braunstein adjacent product selling through the use of the Braunstein label. You may contact Fellowship of the Thing Ltd for licensing inquiries.
Mhm.
Additionally, and this is the kicker, David Wesley is not accepting interviews until further notice. Griff grounded him without supper, or till the drama dies down and we just get along. Ciao, Griff.
So that is infuriating
Yes.
to people who are interested in the history and want to learn from the primary sources. And it's like, oh my gosh. You've got a license and you got to come through the Fellowship of the Thing to license. And I've got to tell you, your chances aren't looking good.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you could go to their website and beg and they'll be like, nope, not going to happen. But here's the thing that we have to be real about. They are his friends. They got there first. Mm-hmm. He trusts them. And if they say, hey man, there's a whole crap storm going on online, it's best if you just stay low until it gets down. He'll probably believe them and be like, all right,
yeah,
fair enough. So the way if you really want to get straight to Wesley, like it or lump it, you are going to have to work with his friends because they do have his ear. He plays games with them. He goes to their cons, their buds. Mm-hmm. And if you honk them off, whether that's fair or not in a cosmic justice sense, they have nothing checking them from telling them, yeah, this guy's an a-hole, don't give him your time. And maybe he believes them, maybe he doesn't. Maybe that's fair, maybe it's not. But I'm just telling you, this is what it is. Yep. Right? So we've either got to find a way to get along, or you got to pay for your ticket and come to the con and talk to the man yourself.
Yeah.
So, but that's just what it is.
Here's the other side of things, and why it's so foolish for Griff to take this particular stance on things.
Yeah.
Firstly, and I'm not a lawyer, but there are real lawyers who have commented on the situation and said very similar things. He does not have a legal leg to stand on here.
So we can disregard the threat.
Yeah. There's no legal recourse to take here. One, the bros to this point have not tried to publish any books. No one has tried to put the name Braunstein on a book and sell it to people. The
one couple did. One couple did. The Barons of Braunstein. Originally, they just called it Braunstein, and it was because they didn't know that Wesley was still alive. They got contacted and turned out, yep, he's still around, and they worked out a licensing deal.
Mm-hmm.
Their rules are not original Braunstein. They did their own BX thing, but used the cachet. And Wesley even has a article in the back explaining about how he named Braunstein. He explained the college town, the brown river that stained the stones, the waterfall, brownstone, Braunstein. So they have his blessing, but they went forward without it and got checked up and came to an agreement.
The other side of this, though, and I might be mistaken on this, but from the cursory research I did, no one currently holds a trademark on the term Braunstein.
That's right. Nobody has registered that term as a trademark.
So again, like if this goes to court, no one owns it.
I don't know if anybody involved can afford the lawyers to do this. If you could, I'm sure there's lawyers that would happily figure out if there's a case here or not, right? Like they would love to take your money and do that. I don't know if I think that might be bluster. Like the story here about Colt. Even in that one, Colt doesn't have the cachet to do lawfare right off the bat. He has to get wildly successful and sell, millions or whatever before then he can go and ruin everybody that tried to steal from him.
Yep.
So let me ask you, how likely is that to happen? If Wesley and Griff, which I'm really looking forward to, and I'm gonna buy the crap out of it when it does come out, and I'm gonna boost it to my audience. Supposedly, they are working on releasing original, official, authentic Braunstein next year.
Okay.
And I'm a supporter and I'm a fan.
I will believe it when I see it.
Okay. But let's just assume it is coming out.
Okay.
Are they going to make destroy all my enemies, drive them before me, hear the lamentation of their women money?
No.
Who's their biggest audience? Who cares about Braunstein?
Us.
That's what I'm saying.
The people who are currently watching the stream.
The people watching the stream, the people that are interested in this, the people that say conventional play is not good enough. I need that old, deep magic. And I believe it was there at the beginning, and I believe that we've lost it because of corporate greed.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tap into that, baby. Those are the ones that are interested in. And those are the ones that you're saying, we don't need you.
Yeah.
We don't like you. We'd rather not be associated with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and all this does, like you said, you're burning your bridge with the people who were going to buy your book. So now no one's going to buy your book. I'm sorry.
I'm going to buy it, and I hope all my fans buy it.
Okay. So yeah, Dunder's going to buy your book.
I'm trying to be fair to both sides because I like both sides, but I'm also trying to call out the silliness as I see it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to be honest.
And all 169 of Dave Kahn MN's followers, including the porn bots, they're all going to buy a copy.
Porn bots don't buy crap. I blocked every single one of them.
So, yeah, there's your constituency. But all you've done here is you've opened up the door for any enterprising individual to essentially now come up with the new term. Okay, you want to take Braunstein for your own, and you want to, build a little fence around that term. Okay, we're just gonna, we're gonna come up with the new term for it, and then when we explain our terms in the book we're going to release, we're going to make reference to, this is a play style that was originated with David Wesley's Braunstein. That kind of reference is not legally protectable. Like you can't prevent someone from mentioning your work in their own work. That's not, legally defensible there. That's not treading on anyone's IP.
And there is an actual German town called Braunstein.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to lock that down.
Yeah.
But it's not, I don't think it has anything to do with the lawsuits. I think that is just mustard that they put on the accusation. The accusation is a moral one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that you are illegally profiting off of this, because the bros don't sell anything. They're not profiting off crap.
Right.
It's that if you were a good person, you would already know that just by the effort of calling something that you do Braunstein, you are disgracing Wesley's legacy. Mm-hmm. And you are burying him under and what he did with your own fake, cheap imitation, which has nothing to do with the original, which is something you invented all on your own. And it's a very weird situation because the guy that's making those accusations is the one that got all of us excited about it in the first place. Mm-hmm. He revealed Braunstein to the world in The Secrets of Blackmore. And did that make a big splash? It did in our community.
Yeah.
Like when I wanted to join the bros, that was like one of the first things that I was told was, hey, watch this movie and you'll start to get it.
Yeah.
And you won't really be able to play real D&D until you watch this movie. And you won't understand who was really the driving force behind it until you watch this movie. And so it's like, these are the biggest fans of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they picked it up and got fascinated, not just as a... There's a difference between gaming history and gaming archaeology.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The historians, they just think it's fascinating in its own right. They want to go to a con and they want to play Braunstein with the guy who invented it, and then they want to tell everyone, "Wow, I was able to actually play the original with the original creator."
Mm-hmm.
And then there's archaeologists who are like, "I want to unearth the artifacts. I want to bring them into the now, and how do I elevate the game that set the world on fire when it has been buried under so many layers of dreck?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do I take tattoo beards and cupcakes and get back to the stuff that set the world on fire?"
Mm-hmm.
I am not throwing any shade at the historians. There is a place for that, and we need that.
Yeah.
But like my whole thing, the reason I love the bros and the reason I love Griff and the stuff that he makes is I want stuff that works now.
Yeah.
I want stuff that's fun and engaging and makes me think about it when I'm not at the table and makes me scheme and plot and plan.
Yep.
And so my answer to the morality question is I believe everybody on both sides respects Major Wesley.
Yep.
We adore what he brought into the world. This is our main hobby. This is more fun to me than video games or movies or reading books.
Yep.
I think everybody that's using the term right now is using it not out of an effort to steal it, but out of respect to say these ideas were not originally ours. You'll notice when the Bro SR started talking about one-to-one time, one of the chief approaches of the ankle biters was to say, you guys are acting like you made it up and you didn't make up crap that was there all along.
Yeah.
Right? And so here we say, okay, we are playing a Braunstein variant. We're not playing the Braunstein, we're playing a. Someone pointed out that Braunstein was a derivation of Strategos from Totten, and that Wesley even made his own version of Strategos N for Napoleonics.
Yeah.
Strategos A for ancients. So we do the same thing, but we put the A in front of the Braunstein. Braunstein. We're giving honor to the man who created it by saying we didn't invent this. We are taking the tools that a much smarter, greater man came up with, and we are applying it to the games that we have now, and we are experiencing some amazing... My whole channel is basically talking to people that have done this, and they just can't wait to gush about it. Right? So that's all respect.
Right.
It's just really weird from a business sense that the most rabid fans are the ones being arm blocked and just held at arm's length by the creator that really... Like, who is he making this stuff for? The OSR doesn't care.
Yeah.
They think it's boring crap. 5e is not even aware of us. We are a lamprey on that giant whale. It doesn't even... Its eye doesn't even roll back far enough to see us.
Yep.
Right? So, I mean, that's part of the fighting is so bitter because the stakes are so low.
Yep.
I still hold out that hope for that glorious future where we put our differences aside and we march arm in arm. But here's where it comes down to for me. If you tell me you can't call it a Braunstein or Wesley will be mad, what am I left with? Well, I don't want to make him mad, or, well, I can't talk to him anyway. I've been having a blast with this. I'm sorry. If I ever meet him, I hope to explain it someday, but I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yep.
You can't say my no-nos.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Some of us, I mean, I heard Griff used to be a punk back in the day, right?
Of course
it's
he did.
just weird to go from punk rock culture to... We'd prefer it if you didn't use that term because you don't know what it means.
Well, that is the natural evolution of the punk. You can like, and this is one of the things that I get on OSR people about, or that I kind of hold against the OSR as a movement. There, if you are an old punk, you
Yeah.
have to acknowledge that at some point you have fundamentally failed, and now you are holding on to this kind of ideal of your youth that has long since passed you by. All of your friends who used to show up to this seedy little club in the part of the city where no good person is out after dark. Um,
Putting
they
your super
either
glue in your mohawk,
yeah
airplane
they
glue.
they either grew up, got married, and moved on to something else. They made it with their music and evolved.
They became the man.
Yep. Or they
Became the man.
died.
Well, or you're like me. I got a bald spot, bro. If I tried to do a mohawk now, I'd look like a wingnut.
Yeah. And all that's left, the people who are still trying to hold on to it, like everyone knows you're a joke. You're the only one who doesn't get the
And I'm not
joke at
saying
that
that Griff
point.
still is a punk. Okay, mind
Yeah.
you that. I mean, well, I mean, I guess depends on what you want to use that word for. But I just think it's funny to hear that he was a punk rock musician kind of guy, and now
Mhm.
he's like, we're gonna have to take that word back from you. You can't be trusted to use it.
Well, but
And
no, like that's how the punks operate. Even like the former punks, that's what they do. They're like, hey, you don't understand what that term means, or you don't
okay, I gotcha.
like you don't get it, man. You're like, what do you mean I don't get it? Shut up,
Yeah,
old man.
yeah. And then the lead singer from Green Day's out there telling you about how great Pfizer is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just want Tom Morello now to have a conversation with 1995 Tom Morello and see how
Yeah,
that goes for
yeah.
him.
So, but maybe I'm being unfair to Griff about the whole punk thing. I don't know. I had just heard that in passing, so I got to be fair to the guy. Sorry, Griff, if I characterized that. But from a psychological perspective, have you heard of transactional analysis?
Refresh me on it real
So there's
quick.
3 modes we can go into in a conflict,
Mhm.
and it is parent mode, child mode, or adult.
Okay.
And the way that the conflict gets waded into will often determine the reaction. So if you come in heavy authoritative parent mode, it is very, very common for the person reacting to slip into child mode.
Mhm.
And there's 2 types of child. There's submissive and there's rebellious, right?
Yeah.
So if you come in and say, you are being a bad boy, you are saying words you shouldn't say, and we're going to take them away from you, it is very easy to slip down into child mode and be like, oh, you don't like when I say that word, huh? Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm going to use it for everything, right?
Yeah.
That's just humanity. What
Yeah.
we're trying to do is slip into adult mode where we're just leveling with each other, man to man. Here's what's going on.
Mhm.
And we're not trying to control, and we're not trying to rebel. Or, you get 2 people going into
Yeah.
parent mode and they're both just trying to control.
Mhm.
Trying to just keep it adult. We
Yeah.
respect each other. We understand there's differences. Let's talk it out in a
Mhm.
way that doesn't throw shade. But the
Yeah.
problem is Twitter is not built on those kind
No.
of relationships.
No.
Um,
This is the
and
internet blood sport.
yeah. And I said, I can't remember who I was talking to that was like kind of lamenting that it was spinning out of control. And I was like, hey man, both sides are having too much fun. War
Yeah.
gamers gonna war game.
I
And that's what's going on.
someone saying, well, oh man, I wish this didn't spin out of control. I just think of James Franco and the Noose going first time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
what are you new here?
So then, like, how do people like you and I, who have a vested interest in having interesting people who may or may not agree with us, come on our show and have a good time talking about it? How
Hmm.
do we thread the needle? Because I am not going to pretend like I'm not a bro.
Hmm.
I am on board. I'm flying the colors. That's how I game. I've had the best experiences in gaming with the bros. Jeff Rowe has been my DM, and I have benefited. I've even stuff that frustrates me, I've learned every time I've played with him.
Yeah.
So I'm never gonna disavow. I'm never gonna disown. If you're gonna throw him
Hmm.
under the bus, I'm next. I'm open about that.
Yeah.
But I also know I've got a lot to learn and I'm willing to listen and stuff. So how do we thread that when everyone is having so much fun condescending? Like it's not enough just to disagree and prove each other wrong or disprove each other, whatever. We've also got to like tear down the other person's character and mock and scorn. And
Yep.
I'm just not great at that. I am a mid card heel at best. I'm a baby face. That's all. Even with a mustache, I still can't. I can't heal to save myself.
Yeah, you don't have the Rick Rude in you. It's all right.
Nope, I don't. I'm a on the other hand guy. That's my problem.
From my perspective, and this is going to come off like way more macho than I probably am capable of conveying, but like to me, it just comes down to this: can you be a man about this? Like, yeah, I hang with people you don't like, and you hang with people I don't like. Can you be a man about this? Can you talk to me and see where we can find some common ground here? Can you hear me out? Can you listen to me? No. Fine. Okay. See ya. Bye. Yes. Okay, cool. Let's talk this through. Let's talk about this.
The stuff we most need to hear is often the thing we least want to.
Yeah.
You desperately need to hear the stuff you don't want to. So how do you cultivate friends that are willing to challenge you in that way?
Right.
Because that is valuable. And there is a speed bump in front of that. They have to step over a hurdle to check you. They have to be courageous to correct you. So how do you become humble and correctable and reward them for doing that? How do you make it easy to tell you stuff you don't want to hear? How do you make it so people aren't terrified that you're going to get defensive and that you're going to fight back?
Yeah. Honestly, like it's the thing that people don't have anymore on the internet or even in real life. It's emotional maturity. You have to be able, and it's not ever going to be immediate. It's always going to be a process, but you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and be like, man, they were right. I reacted badly to this. Man, they had a point. Let me, go back to them in, with respect and say, hey, look, I know what I said. I was wrong. This is where I was coming from, but you were right. And then on the other side of that, you have to be willing when someone comes to you and says, hey, I was wrong about this. You have to be willing to go, it's okay, man. It's all right.
Don't crow. Don't gloat. Because you never know when the next time you might have to be the one.
Right.
Hat in hand. Saying, please forgive me. Right.
Yeah.
So okay, have we covered all the nuances of this?
Yes.
I will say, I've had Griff on my channel. I'll put the I'll give you the link to that video if you want to put it in the comments. So you can watch this and hear from his own mouth. And it's a hilarious interview. Griff and I have a great time. He cracks me up. Other people to follow, Cerulean Rex has a video where he comes, shares. And this is a guy that goes to these cons. He's played Braunstein with Wesley, and he's even got his own. This is interesting. He's got his own Braunstein variant that he's going to be running at ArnieCon.
Yeah.
So, how does that work out? So go check him out and hear what he has to say. So you're getting the whole story, right? Not just me. Yeah. Again, you can follow DaveCon MN and Griff Morgan on Twitter. Griff is, well, I don't know if you can follow Griff, actually. He may have already blocked you.
Yeah, you might want to check that.
Yeah, at Blackmore Film. If you watch the video, there will come a point where it seems like I'm trying to manipulate Griff. I want to address this. I talked about this last time with B-Dubs. I asked him what his definition of a Braunstein is, and I gave the definition that Jeffro had posted earlier. I purposefully didn't put any names on it.
Yeah.
Not because I was trying to get some kind of gotcha. Over and over again in the interview, I tell him, okay, this is a question is going to sound like a gotcha, but I'm only throwing it out here because people are saying this, and I want to give you a chance to respond. Right? So I'm not arguing. I'm just saying, here's what's being said. Would you like to address it? When I read that quote and he agreed with it, I was only interested in the pure idea of it. Because there's another psychological principle called the halo and horns effect.
Yeah.
Halo effect is when you got somebody and they're just like your favorite person, and you will not be able to see their wrongdoing because in your mind you've put a halo on them and they can do no wrong.
Yeah.
That is bad. You will crash and burn if you do that long enough. Likewise, the horns effect is when you have written somebody off so completely that anything that comes from them has to be garbage because of who it came from. They've got the horns effect. You write that off. You don't want to do that either because you won't get to the truth. When I read that, I just want to make sure everyone knows I wasn't trying to do a gotcha. I wasn't trying to take him down. I just wanted to hear his honest reaction to the idea, and without the halo or horns effect of knowing where the where it was eloquently worded from. And that definition was Braunstein is multiple independent actors operating in potential conflict under a fog of war. That may not be all that the original Braunstein is, as far as like you get an hour. From what I understand, you get an hour lecture on Prussian history, which sounds boring, but everyone that I've read that has gone through it said it flew by and they were fascinated because Wesley knows so much about it. So just throw that out there. Yeah, sounds like a big boring info dump. I agree. But everyone that's gone through it seems to they're either like overselling it or they enjoyed it. X dude who's in the chat right now helpfully put a list of the things that Griff defined Braunstein as. It starts in the middle of the scene, so in media res, bad stuff's about to go down. They played it for over 8 hours, roughly. You're given a character description with a backstory, so multiple pages for your character. It's all prepped. You have set character goals given to you. There is a limited scoped setting that is on the eve of conflict. It's not a war game. It's not an army game, even though there was a duel and somebody got stabbed, and even though there was a commander who had some troops. It's not a strict war game. And each player is scoped to the character level, even if they control domain level assets. The game ends when everything goes to hell. Braunstein does not need a referee, but it does have one. Players can go off and do things on the side with other players that the referee is unaware of. And it's not that they don't need it. It's just like the game is going to get out of control. Anybody that I've talked to that's run one of these, they never stay on top of it. They finally get to the point where like, what happened? You guys got to tell me what happened. What's going on, guys?
Yeah.
What happened in my game? Time is not tightly tracked during the game, and any or all players may win by completing their personal goals. So there's not like one big prize they're competing for.
Yep.
So thanks, X Dude, for putting that out there. Another point of contention with us using the term Braunstein that has nothing to do with morals, has nothing to do with lawsuits. Griff just maintains that what we are doing could be more accurately described as a proto Blackmore.
Okay.
I'm just going to read Fluid's comment. I happen to agree that much of what's been done is closer to Proto Blackmore. We focus on what we consider the most important about the games, the Braunstein-like elements, hence the shorthand A Braunstein. But we could say Proto Blackmore or something. However, golly, that also includes a historical term that someone may take offense of. In fact, the estate of Arneson has a pending trademark. Why is Griff so flippant about other people's trademarks? So, obviously, making the case, Griff says what you're doing is closer to Blackmore.
Yeah.
Which is a significant statement. Now, if you watched Griff on Mr. Wargaming, The Joy of Wargaming, he admits he's not a detail guy. He's a big picture guy.
Yeah.
And he has blocked 99% of the bros. So one may make the case that maybe Griff doesn't actually know what we're doing. I think he watches my channel, so hopefully he's got somewhat of an inkling. But like you may make the case, okay, he's saying what we're doing is Proto Blackmore. Maybe he's responding to 2022 BroSR. Maybe he's responding to early 2023 BroSR with what we were doing there was way more of a Proto Blackmore. That's still a huge statement, mind you, because the other thing the ankle biters tell us when they say you didn't invent anything, you know, or you're trying to take credit for something you didn't invent. The other thing they say is nobody played that way. Nobody ever played the way that you guys are. And then here's Griff saying, You guys are playing the way that Arneson ran Blackmore, which is kind of a win for the bros. I'm going to put that out there. I'm not putting any words in Griff's mouth. You can watch it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I did want to address that nuance of it, that aside from the lawsuits, aside from the morality, maybe we're just being inaccurate. Maybe we don't understand Braunstein enough to know that what we're playing is a Blackmore instead. Now, it's worth noting that there were people that went to Gen Con, I want to say, that had been working with Dave Arneson, and it was some kind of wolf something or other. I can't remember. But they had not licensed their property from the Arneson estate, and they were selling stuff at that conference. And so that was a big deal. So you go after Blackmore stuff, you go after Arneson's name, and though there is an estate that will come after you. So I would say it's probably safer to use Braunstein than Blackmore or Proto Blackmore if you don't want to get sued. I would say that the people that dislike the Broasar will use whatever we do against us. If we say it's a Proto Blackmore, they'll say that's not yours. You guys are stealing from Arneson. If we say it's a Braunstein, they'll say you don't know what you're talking about. What you're doing is a Blackmore. You just can't win. And this is why I'm really sad I didn't find Daddy Warpig's post. The guy's prolific. He posts a lot.
He does.
But he had basically his reaction was, it's not you guys can't do that, because as I said, Cerulean Rex is running one. It's you guys can't do that.
Yeah.
It's not what you're doing, it's who is doing it, was what Daddy Warpig was perceiving it as. So is that true? Is that the case? I don't know. That's one of the reasons I didn't want to put Jeffro's name on it when I read the quote, because I just wanted to get the unvarnished idea out there. Yeah. So I don't know if that helps. I feel like I'm just muddying it. I keep going back and forth. I'm trying to understand it from many facets, from many sides. I'm trying to be fair to Griff. But here's the thing. Nobody ever worries about being fair to Jeffro.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what this a lot of this comes down to. Okay, is Jeffro grating and irritating and a blowhard? Sure. Yeah. All right. I'll walk that path with you. Sure. Does that differentiate him in any meaningful way from any other major figure in this hobby? And no, absolutely not. There's 4 people who everyone's like, oh yeah, that's a nice guy. Everyone else, there's at least a small group of people who are like, man, that dude's obnoxious. He's
a zealot. He's a hype man. He is sold out on his ideas, and he will sell them as hard as he can to you. Yeah. And it is to your benefit to listen.
But, and this is the thing, when people talk about Jeffro, and this is, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave this here because I'm running log on time.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You don't go 2 hours like me. Right. You go for an hour. Sorry. I'm sorry to your family and everyone that's I'm pulling you away from them.
It's all right. Maybe someday I'll be able to go 2 hours. But
you need to get that Dundermoose endurance, man.
But at the end of the day, everyone who has this hate boner for Jeffro, you need to just back up for a second and think about the other people in this hobby who have abrasive personalities that people follow. There's a lot of people that hate James Raggi. There's a lot of people that follow James Raggi. There's a lot of people that hate Greg Gillespie. And there's a lot of people that follow Greg Gillespie. There's a lot of people that hate/follow Matt Colville. There's go down the list.
You can learn from each of those guys.
Yeah. Pick a person. And, there's a group that will call him the greatest thing that ever happened, and a group that will say, he ruined this hobby. Just, has Jeffro ever led a harassment campaign? Has he ever doxed anybody? Has Jeffro ever done anything so reprehensible that he should be drummed out of society? No, obviously not. He has done nothing that's any different.
He makes other people lose their crap and do that to us, but I haven't seen him do it personally.
Jeffro has done nothing that your favorite RPG commentator hasn't done themselves. So, like, I'm sorry.
As far as behavior wise,
Yeah.
I would say he's done a lot of stuff that nobody
Yes.
else has done.
Yeah, he's done actual work
He
in
has
this
done
hobby, which
stuff
is
that, if we are to believe the ankle biters, even Gary Gygax himself did not do after, like, moments after the ink dried on the first draft of the DMG.
yeah,
He's like, well, that's a load of hooey. I'm not going to play that way.
yep,
And the people that do have a different game than anything you've played before, and it's amazing. The
yeah.
thing I want to say about Jeffro and what he's done, he has been blogging receipts the whole time. He has taken AD&D 1E as a play test document, cut aside any of the chatter on the forums or people's 40 years of their experience. He has tried the rules as written. It's transformed the game. He showed it. He shared it. Trilopulus spawned, like, the people that played in that. It's not like they tried it and said, oh, that was fun, and went back. Can you say that about Braunstein? How many times did people that play Braunstein want to buy the home game and play it for themselves? Or, maybe they play it at every con they go to. But multiple DMs spawned out of that first campaign and running their own Broasar. So the people that try it love it. It was broken. You know this. I know this. The curator learned it, was probably the most famous flame out, that doing it the way we were doing, it had the magic, but it just ate DMs. It devoured them.
Yeah.
The way we were doing it wasn't quite right. And Jeffro and B-Dubs in the back channel went back to basics. They said the first Braunstein was a one-night event. It was a session. What if we have our campaign going? It's a normal campaign, but then when things get too stagnant or static, we take out the big pieces. We have a session night, and it upends everything. People have a blast. It gets out of control. Everyone gets re-fascinated with the campaign, and then you jump back in, and now you've got this breathing between session play and Braunstein. Session play and Braunstein. And then they pushed it even farther with a total nonstop Braunstein, where we're like, okay, let's just, every session is a Braunstein. Factions of one. We started doing it with Traveler, not even AD&D anymore. We're not even doing it 1E. We're doing Traveler, and we don't have huge, war bands. It's just each person's playing one person, but it's the key difference is it's not get along gang. We're not all on the same side.
Right.
I've got to figure out, Ryan, what I'm going to say to you to get you to trust me so you don't shoot me. Right? And then we've got our prisoner's dilemma where we're going along with it. If we both are faithful to the end, we'll make a big payday.
Yeah.
But whoever turns on the other one first wins. Right? And so there's that. And then you're playing against other minds instead of just the game world that the DM's representing. So all of that to say, whether he came up with it or not, he went back and unearthed it. He recognized it. He brought it to us. We're bringing it to you. So Jeffro deserves some respect in all of this. Jeffro deserves to get some notoriety, or at least a hashtag thank you, Jeffro. And the other fact is, just linguistically, for years, we've been calling these a Braunstein. So I know you won't catch that if you've blocked us for years. But there comes a statute of limitations where you can say, well, you shouldn't call all bandages a Band-Aid. But there's a cultural moment where it's out in the zeitgeist, and that's just what's occurred.
Yep.
And I'm sorry if that moment passed. Maybe if you had not been blocking us, you'd have caught it early. You'd said, hey, guys, you should call this something else. Here's a better term. If we'd have been on good terms then, maybe there was a chance to steer the boat. But, like, the thing's got legs, it's got momentum, and I think you're going to still see people, like, he was fine with us calling it Moonstein. He was fine with us calling it, X-Stein. He even made a joke about doing a Griffstein, right? He didn't see that as disrespectful. But calling something a Braunstein, I just don't think I see either side backing down from that. I've seen enough of the arguments. I know where people stand. I'm doing my best to understand it. I feel like I've gotten there. I'm just looking down the barrel of time here, and I don't see either. I see one side continuing to maintain, you're not allowed to use this. And I see the other side saying, cat's out of the bag, baby. Everyone's talking about a Braunstein. This is the biggest thing in gaming right now. OSR is boring. They're dying on the vine. They can't sell any products. 5e is turning into a video game. What have you guys got left? Are you going to go DEI? Are you going to go degenerate? Or are you going to join the bros? Those are your options.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Exactly. And not to prolong this any further, but I have actually written about that. I have an article on my Substack called A Faction of One. And this gets back to this core problem with every role-playing game. How do the priest and the thief and the fighter all get along in the dungeon?
That's right.
It's an alliance of convenience. They all need each other's skills. There's money at the bottom. Everyone's got to work together to survive. But, on the way out, whoever turns first, they might walk away with everything. So, yeah.
I've talked about this book, Treacherous Play by Marcus Carter. I'm trying to get the guy on my channel. He's in Australia, so it's not easy. But there is something about a treacherous game where you can betray each other that is more fascinating than what we've been playing with D&D.
Yeah.
Call it whatever you want. Braunstein, Treacherous Play. When you add that element, it changes the game and gives it a depth and a richness you've not had before. And watch my channel. You'll see people who've done it. I try to get out of them the secrets of how to do it. You guys can do this at your table. It's anti-fragile. It's easy. It's fun. And you don't have to worry about what you're going to call it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Dundermoose, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a fantastic show. I've had a great time talking to you.
On your show, man.
Next time you come on, we'll have to talk about something that's less stupid and more fun.
I only do stupid. I'm sorry.
All good. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for Rollin Bones this week. Next week, I don't know if you all saw this or not. Matt Colville has decided that $3 million was not enough. So we'll be talking all about that next week. It's probably just going to be me, but I'll see if I can bring anyone on to talk about it. But until then, whether you rolled a 1 or a 20, I'm so glad that you rolled your bones with me, Ryan Howard, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good night.